The Ryan Jespersen Show, weekday mornings at 9 on 630 CHED.
Lawyers in Saskatchewan, in Regina specifically, today arguing over the question of whether or not the province can pay or should pay for non-Catholic students attending Catholic schools. So 2 years ago, a judge ruled that doing so infringed on religious neutrality and equality rights, prompting then Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall to invoke the notwithstanding clause. Catholic school leaders, teachers voicing concerns. The province appealed. Dwight Newman, who's a law professor at the University of Saskatchewan, says there's a lot at stake with this.
The government of Saskatchewan obviously wants to win in court as opposed to continuing to rely on the notwithstanding clause on it. So,
Luke, my understanding, based on a comment you made through the commercial break, is you believe that then Premier Wall invoked the notwithstanding clause to allow this to go through the courts. If that were to remain just part of the reality post what we're talking about right now, something tells me you would see that as problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, I think the judge did make one mistake in the original ruling, and that was he basically gave Saskatchewan just slightly over a year to have non-Catholics not get public funding to attend Catholic schools. And I think that was too quick. It was unreasonable. So I'm not that surprised that they invoked the notwithstanding and letting it run through the courts. Okay, that's reasonable too. But is the hammer of the notwithstanding clause actually appropriate once this is finished its way through the courts? If the government of the day, be it in Alberta or Saskatchewan, is it appropriate? And I would say no, it's not. It's the notwithstanding clause is essentially a way for the government of the day, be it right-wing or left-wing or centrist, to actually overrule the rights of its citizens. And if a court rules that the current setup with public funding of non-Catholics for Catholic schools denies non-Catholics and public schools their charter rights, then those should be honoured by the government of the day, and we should find a better and more appropriate solution. And the government just using the notwithstanding clause to say, hey, we don't care about the rights of a particular group of people is really unacceptable. And if you look at the history of notwithstanding in Saskatchewan and Alberta, it really does set up some red flags. It's not been used for 30 years in Saskatchewan, but in Alberta, we've never successfully used it, but it's been tried or talked about in the forced sterilization of people. The Klein government, I think, looked at overruling the Vrend versus Alberta decision, the fact that you can't fire gay people for being gay. And then again, the Klein government talked about using the notwithstanding clause to overrule the gay marriage ruling from the Canadian Supreme Court. And yeah, there's a theme here, by the way, that a lot of the uses for the notwithstanding clause are to overcome or to support religious perspectives and religious privilege. So no, the notwithstanding clause is not an acceptable way out here. We should honour whatever the court says.
Luke's here representing A Pupil. That's Alberta Parents for Unbiased Public Inclusive Learning. Want to give you, CHED Nation, a chance to have your say. You can dial in right now to 780-496-0063. You can tweet at me, at Ryan Jespersen. Luke's at According to Luke. And then, of course, you can text the show to 630-630. Haas says the text line cesspool may need something positive to balance all of Luke's haters, so I will interject a little support for his position on the state of our education. Well done, and keep up the good work. Another says here, until Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs all start rising up demanding equality. Oh boy, this guy is nothing but virtue signaling on behalf of those who don't want to be signaled for. His atheism and his commitment to it is down to his religion unto itself, and I find his efforts bordering on hypocrisy. Wow.
Well, so first of
all,
as an atheist, let me just say, I don't think that we should be teaching atheism in a single publicly funded school.
What do you think the role of public schools, and I think you're going to know there's a subtle difference here, there's a subtle nuance to this. What role do you think that public education should have curriculum-wise, if any, when it comes to religious education? In other words, education on religion. I
think this is a really important, nuanced point. I think all of us will acknowledge that religion plays a very important role in this world. It's a significant thing. It means a lot to a lot of people. And understanding different religions, I think, is very important. Having some empathy for different religions is very important. And a comparative religions course of study in schools, I think, is an absolute necessity. Certainly an education that my children are getting. Now, there is a big difference between learning about religions and actually using a publicly funded school system to recruit and indoctrinate children into believing faith traditions and faith stories as being literally true and having them worship gods.
Okay. Bob, first in line to 780-496-0063. Bob, what's on your mind?
Hi. Yes. What's the name of this fellow's outfit again, where he comes from?
It's A-Pupil, A-P-U-P-I-L. You can find us on Facebook. And you're right.
But I kind of thought the name sounded contradictory to what you're standing up for. But my kids went to public school. But I totally disagree with you. I always thought the funding should follow the student, that we all pay taxes, it all goes in the same pool, whether it's private, Catholic, separate, whatever. Who really cares? The only people that really care are people like you who want everybody to have the same thing and no competition, nothing. Just leave it alone. Let people decide for themselves. It's my money, not yours. And just let people put their kids where they want. That's all it is. Leave us alone. Leave everybody alone. Leave the public school alone. Leave the private. Leave the Catholics. Just let people do their thing, okay? We don't need people telling us where our money has to go, where our taxes go. We get told that enough from the government. Just let people do their thing.
Okay,
so
Bob, I
sick and tired of this.
Okay, I want to let Luke respond. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for that, Bob. I completely agree with you. I think that people shouldn't be taking my money to subsidize Catholic schools, which is exactly what is happening here. So first of all, I believe in choice and equality for everybody. I don't think everyone should be spoon-fed the same gruel at the same public school. I don't. I believe in choice. But I believe in choice that is bigger and greater than just Catholic and everybody else. I believe that we can actually give more choice about more things that aren't just faith-based through a more dynamic and robust public system. And if you want competition, sure, let's have competition. Let's have two public systems. But there's no reason why the other system needs to be Catholic.
You don't really believe that. You don't really believe there should be competition between two public systems.
No, but I'm okay with competition. I'm okay with choice. I believe that.
In other words, a fully funded private school. A privately funded private school. In other words, if parents want to send their kid to a Montessori school or to, I always reference, I grew up in Calgary, Strathcona, Tweedsmuir, which is like $30,000 a year. I went to a private school, you know that, through till grade 9, public school through high school. If it's $25,000 a year and no public dollars are going to it, you're perfectly fine with it, right?
Absolutely.
100% fine.
Everyone should have that choice. The question is, so we have this illusion on our property tax forms that money gets directed to where you want it to go. And of course, it's an illusion perpetuated by the Catholic school systems that it's a game they play. The amount of money that they get per student, about $8,000 per student operationally every year, the money follows the student, but they keep it on the property tax form so that it creates the illusion that Catholics are paying for Catholic education. But here's the thing. If you actually do look at the amount of property tax money that is directed, it's less than $1,500 per Catholic student per year. And the amount of directed dollars per public student is over $4,000 a year. So we have a $2,500 shortfall in directed property taxes, which is about $450 million a year that the majority non-Catholics of Albertans are forced to pay to subsidize the Catholic education system. So Bob, I agree with you. Get your hands out of my pocket.
All right. On the text line to 630, Trevor M. says, Luke is a breath of fresh air. Taking on the institution of any religion is a daunting task, and he's a brave man.
This year, challenge yourself to do something epic. The Enbridge Ride to Conquer Cancer, benefiting the Alberta Cancer Foundation, presented by Evraz, is your chance to join thousands of other riders united in one epic goal: to conquer cancer. 2 days and over 200 kilometers, the ride is a challenge, and it's meant to be. When you sign up, you'll begin to raise vital funds, enabling the Alberta Cancer Foundation to invest in diagnosing cancer earlier, improving the effectiveness of cancer treatment, enhancing quality of life, and reducing the risk of developing cancer for patients and families across Alberta. Register today at conquercancer.ca and save $50 when you use promo code PODCAST at sign up. Again, that's promo code PODCAST at conquercancer.ca.
Luke Fevin is our guest. He's the main mouthpiece at A Pupil. People are going to be tuning in and they don't know the context of that, and they're saying, boy, is Jespersen never being rude to this guy. Alberta Parents for Unbiased Public Inclusive Learning. I can't help myself. I'm going to read this text to you. Clowns like this that you have on the radio are eating at the fabric of our society. Does your guest have a British accent? He better appreciate that accent, because soon there won't be any Brits left.
Well, that's quite ironic when you think about the history of Canada, isn't it?
Vicky has been patiently holding the line. Vicky, what's your take on what you're hearing?
I've grown up in Alberta. I've gone to school in Alberta. I've taught school in Alberta, north and south. I really believe this tax thing between Alberta and Saskatchewan is straight stupid. Who cares about us from Ottawa, my friends? We should have one tax system, all schools the same. Roman Catholic together. It happened in the Lloydminster, division of everything. Put one thing together. That is my opinion.
So, Vicky, are you saying you'd like to see one school board overseeing all schools, just so I'm clear?
Well, you probably have to have separate school boards. Now, you know that.
But they already are separate.
I beg your pardon?
They already are.
Well, they shouldn't have to be. Our taxes should go to one.
Okay, Vicky, thanks for the call.
Thanks, Vicky. I think you're absolutely bang on. I want to correct, I think, what is a misunderstanding here, that, I'm not advocating for no religion in our school system. I just don't, it makes no sense to me that we favor one religion over all others, and we create inefficiencies with that, when we could actually offer more choice to more people, including faith options, better through a robust public system.
A listener out of Edmonton says, give every student a voucher. Let parents decide what school their kids attend, period. If they have to top up that amount to select a specialty school, that's up to them. Get out of the way of parents.
Yeah, that works so well in the U.S. The voucher system has absolutely destroyed lower middle class education in the U.S.
Okay, Hugh, what's on your mind?
Well, I certainly have to take disagreement with this individual you're interviewing. I kind of like the Catholic school system because they still call it Christmas. When I went to school, we did Christmas concerts, we did Easter. That was kind of the prevalent thing. These people that want to send their kids to private schools or other schools, that money should be tied to that kid, like that one on your text. Not everything that comes out of the States is bad. Just because they elected Trump and Bush don't mean they're all a bunch of ingrates.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Because anything that comes out of the States is bad. It's bad. According to the Canadiana culture, if it's America, it must be bad. But I don't prescribe to that either. What I'm saying is, it's up to the parent where they send their kid. That kid should get X amount of dollars from the government, whether it goes to a Muslim school or a Jewish school or a Catholic school or a public school. And how that school board spends their money is up to them.
Okay, I want to give Luke a chance to respond before we run out of time here.
I actually agree with him to some degree. I'm not into the voucher system. If the money just follows the child free and easy, we lose the basis of our society, which is the public school system. But at the end of the day, money has to go. You don't get to direct your tax dollars to just the roads that you drive on.
Listener here says, out of Ponoka, thank you, Luke, for sharing your data-driven, rational thoughts on education in Alberta. As a public school teacher, I believe there should be one publicly funded public education system for all Albertans. It's ludicrous and economically irresponsible to think that we can maintain the support for all of these different systems. Another listener here is challenging you, says, if Luke is so fundamentally believes in abolishing Catholic education, why doesn't he put his name on a ballot and campaign on it, get a mandate from the people, become education minister, and then make the move?
Well, I am trying to make that difference by talking to political parties. The Liberal Party actually did adopt disestablishing the separate school system as a policy, and I applaud them for it. The other three, I think, are waiting for the wind to blow strong enough before they make that move.
Listener here says nothing more than, I'm Catholic, and I couldn't agree more with your guest's position, which is interesting. Another says, Jespo, a teacher of 15 years here. I've taught in both Catholic and public systems. Many people choose the Catholic system because it's basically a publicly funded private school. Catholic schools can turn kids away so they don't have nearly as many behavioral problems, etc. You're nodding.
Well, first of all, Catholic schools can turn people away, and they do. Not just children's families, but of course teachers and LGBTQ members and all this kind of stuff. And so that level of discrimination is completely just unacceptable in a publicly funded system. And yeah, there are stories that Catholic. Anecdotally, I don't have data, but there is anecdotal evidence that Catholic school systems do turn away special needs kids.
Listener says, if we look 20 years down the road, we must know the voucher system. Oh, this is Barb listening in from Support Our Students, SOS down in Calgary. Hi, Barb. She says the voucher system did not just fail the U.S., it failed the UK, Chile, Sweden, and Australia as well. Another says, this guy is great, loving this. We have adults bent out of shape over religion in schools on both spectrums. We should be focusing on the education system itself. Everybody together making it world class. I wish we had a system free of indoctrination, but that's still taught about all religions as well as tolerance and acceptance. Teach these kids how to think for themselves. I don't know how you argue against that. Luke, we're out of time. Really appreciate your perspective on this. Thanks for taking some flack. It's what we do on the show. We allow people to air their opinions and then we talk it out. So thanks for this.
Thanks. I appreciate it. If we could shift the conversation from religion to the best possible education system for Alberta, that would be great.
The Ryan Jespersen Show, weekday mornings at 9 on 630 CHED.